You know, the startup graveyard is absolutely littered with brilliant ideas. We hear it all the time. Over 90% of them fail. But what if we've been asking the wrong questions? What if it's not just about why they fail, but about what the successful ones, the survivors, all have in common? What if we could actually turn the art of building a business into a real science?
All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to tackle the huge scaling challenge every founder knows and dreads. Then, we'll look at why the old rulebook just doesn't work anymore. From there, we'll deconstruct what success really looks like when you follow the data. That's going to lead us to a powerful new tool, the Scaleup score. And finally, we'll see how this could be a total game changer for the entire UK startup ecosystem.
So let's start with what some people call the second valley of death. It's that incredibly treacherous journey from being a promising startup with a cool product to becoming a true, resilient scale-up that lasts.
So why is it so tough? Well, because real scaling isn't just about getting bigger. It's about growing your revenue way faster than your costs. It's a game of efficiency, not just raw expansion. And honestly, for most companies, that kind of sustainable growth feels completely out of reach.
And the numbers, they're brutal. The Startup Genome Project found that more than 90% of startups fail. But here's the real kicker. The number one thing that kills them isn't a competitor. It's self-destruction, usually caused by trying to scale way too soon.
Right, and we've all heard these reasons before, haven't we? There was no market for the product, the company ran out of cash, they just had the wrong team. But here's the thing, these aren't really separate problems. They're all just symptoms of a much deeper issue, a fundamental weakness in one of the core pillars of the business.
And this, right here, reveals the real problem. It isn't just that scaling is hard. It's that we've been trying to navigate this minefield using the wrong map. There's a huge, glaring measurement gap. Just think about how we define a scale-up. The standard definition, the one from the OECD, only tells you who has already scaled. I mean, for an investor or a founder making a critical decision right now, that's like trying to drive a car by looking only in the rearview mirror. It's a lagging indicator, when what we desperately need is a predictive one.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The industry itself is screaming for a change. The Scaleup Institute is explicitly calling for new, evidence-based tools to find that next generation of high-growth companies before they're already giants.
Okay, so if the old rulebook is broken, what does a new, data-driven one even look like? To figure that out, we have to pull apart what actually drives success.
Well, it turns out it all starts with the people. Over and over again, top-tier VCs and academic studies all land on the exact same conclusion. The single most critical asset is the human capital. The team is often way more valuable than the initial idea. And inside that team, a founder's own mind can be the biggest risk. These cognitive biases, they are absolutely lethal. Take the planning fallacy, for example. That's our natural tendency to underestimate how long things will take and how much they'll cost. It directly leads to one of the top reasons for failure, running out of cash.
And this isn't just a theory. We can actually put a number on it. The data shows that startups often need up to 3 times longer to really validate their market than the founders expect. That huge gap between a gut feeling and the cold, hard reality, that's exactly where a scientific approach becomes so vital.
So, if we can measure all these risk factors and success signals, how do we bundle all that knowledge into a practical, predictive tool? Well, this is where the Pixie benchmark system comes in. It's designed to turn the art of evaluation into a science.
The whole system is built on what are called Pixie benchmarks. Now, each one of these is a specific, measurable factor, not a hunch, not a guess, that has been proven through solid academic and industry research to actually correlate with success. You can think of them as the scientifically validated DNA of a high-potential startup.
Now, the real power of the system comes from how it weighs these different benchmarks. It doesn't treat them all as equals. It scientifically calculates the significance, or the swing, of each factor. Basically, what's its total potential impact? This means the model zeroes in on what truly moves the needle.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at what this data-driven weighting actually shows us. During that crucial transition stage for a startup, a factor like being a serial founder, it barely makes a dent.
But look at the heavy multipliers on having experienced advisors or strong connections to local investors. The data is crystal clear. At this stage, your network is a far, far better predictor of success than your personal track record.
So all of this complex, academically robust analysis gets distilled down into a single, elegant number, a scale-up score. The idea is for it to be as intuitive and as powerful as a credit score, but instead of measuring your financial past, it's measuring a startup's future potential.
So what's the big payoff here? How does a single, standardized score like this actually create value in the real world, especially for the UK's amazing startup scene?
Well, the potential is enormous. This data from Bowhurst shows a really clear link. As a company's growth goes into overdrive, the chance that it's backed by equity funding just skyrockets. A scale-up score is the exact tool designed to help investors spot these hypergrowth companies before that curve goes vertical, letting them de-risk their investment with actual data. What this does is create a common language for the entire ecosystem. For investors, it helps de-risk those super early stage deals. For founders, it's a data-driven roadmap for what to focus on next. For lenders, it's a brand new, robust metric to assess potential. And for policymakers, it's a way to aim support where it's going to have the most impact, building a stronger innovation economy for everyone.
This leaves us with a really powerful question. What happens when we start funding innovation based on science instead of just guesswork? Imagine an ecosystem where capital flows more efficiently, where founders have a clear, data-backed path to success. That's the future promised by a science of scaling. A future built not on chance, but on code.